Good afternoon everyone. My name is Atrey Sinha. I am Academic Officer English from National Institute of Open Schooling. Today we will read the lesson Indian Weavers, which is included in our secondary English course code 202 as lesson number 12. Indian Weavers is a moving and thought-provoking celebration of the passage of life and eventual death by Sarojini Naidu, who is the poet of this short poem, and this poem is included in our course. And before starting the lesson, let us have a look at the learning outcomes that are expected from this lesson. So, first of all, after completing the lesson, the learner will be able to express their feelings and emotions effectively, and they will also be able to recognize and value diversity in cultures. This lesson will also teach us to enjoy the rhythm of the poem. We will gradually be able to feel the rhythm of the poem, and later on we will also discover the special use of language in poetry. The diction, the language of poetry and prose are quite different, and how far this language or diction of poetry is different from the prose which we have already read could be able to comprehend by us through this poem. And we will also be able to use the comparisons for effective writing. And we will also be able to identify the use of words to create visual images. We will learn the imagery as a literary devices. So, this poem will help us to identify the use of words to create visual images. So, these are all the learning outcomes of this lesson. So, before starting the poem, we must learn about the poet, and the poet of this particular poem, Indian Weavers, is Sarojini Naidu. So, Sarojini Naidu born in a Bengali family, but they settled in Hyderabad, and a child prodigy. She is a freedom fighter and also a poet. Most importantly, she is the first Indian woman to become the president of the Indian National Congress. The role of Indian National Congress in Indian independence and in forming the India has a great role, we all know that, and Sarojini Naidu was the first Indian woman to become the president of the Indian National Congress. And she was also the first woman to become the governor of a particular state, and she is famously known as Bharatiya Kokila. The meaning of Bharatiya Kokila would be the nightingale of India. So, this is about Sarojini Naidu, and also additionally we must know that Sarojini Naidu was actively engaged in the Indian independence movement and encouraged Indian women to participate in political life. And as she was very much involved in the political life, she was also a poet, also a great poet, and that is why she was called the Nightingale of India. So, some of her poetry collections are the Golden Threshold, which was published in 1905, and the Bird of Time, which was published in 1912, and the Broken Wing, which was published in 1915. Apart from that, the Spectre Flute, Song of India, and the Feather of the Dawn published after her death. So, these two poetry collection, the anthology of her poetry, the Spectre Flute, Songs of India, and the Feather of the Dawn, these were published posthumously. That means these were published after the death of the poet Sarojini Naidu. So, these are all about the poet Sarojini Naidu. Now, we will move on to the poem itself, which is the Indian Weavers. So, this poem by Sarojini Naidu was written as a song, and this song or the poet was appeared in her 2005 poetry collection, the Golden Threshold. And this poem explores Indian philosophy of life and death day and night. And who is the speaker of this poem? The speaker alternates between an observer and the weavers themselves. So, this is about the poet. Now, about the poem. Now, we will move on to the text, the poem itself. What is there in the poetry? That is the Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu. So, first stanza. Weavers weaving at break of day, why do you weave a garment so gay? Blue as the wing of halcyon wild, we weave the robes of a newborn child. So, as we go on the first stanza of the poem Indian Weavers, the first stanza goes like that. Weavers, weavers, that means who weaves. Weavers weaving at break of day, why do you weave a garment so gay? So, the poet asks the weavers why they are creating, why they are preparing, making such a bright and colorful garment at the beginning of the day. So, now we are at the beginning of the day when the weavers were creating, were making, were weaving a bright and colorful garment. And what was the time? It is very important. The time particularly in this time is beginning of the day, dawn. Now, the last two lines of the first stanza. Blue as the wing of halcyon wild, we weave the robes of a newborn child. So, the weavers respond as the observer, as the speaker asks, the poet asks the weavers that why they are creating such a bright and colorful garment at the dawn time, at the beginning of the day, as with the sunrise. The weavers respond, the weavers replied that they are making robes for a newborn child. So, they are making, they are creating, they are preparing a robe, preparing clothes for whom? For a newborn child. And this is with using a shade of blue that is as vibrant and beautiful as the wing of a halcyon bird. So, they further explain that the color of the robe, the color of the shade of the cloth is blue, and that blue color is very much vibrant and very much beautiful as the wing of a halcyon bird. Halcyon is a kind of bird, and the color of the wing of that particular bird is blue and very vibrant and very bright, very beautiful blue. And these weavers are comparing that color, the color of the wing of the halcyon bird, with this particular robes which they are weaving at the beginning of the day. So, this is about the first stanza. Now, halcyon bird is a bird which is a very striking, which has a very striking blue color. Now, what is that particularly? Let have some trivia of that particular bird. A halcyon is a tropical kingfisher native to Asia and Africa with striking and brightly colored plumage. And it is also a mythical creature, and it is said to have the power to calm the sea and wind during a storm. So, if it is a storm, then halcyon bird has the power to calm the sea, calm the storm, and make some tranquility, make some quiet, some aura in that particular place when there is a storm, there is a big wave. Now, this imagery of halcyon bird, the color of the wing of the halcyon bird, suggests that the garment is full of life and joy, and it's celebrating the arrival of new life with a color that symbolizes purity and tranquility. It is, so blue is a color of purity and tranquility, and so is the halcyon bird. Halcyon bird is the bird which has the power to calm, to keep some tranquility during a storm. So, eventually the color blue becomes a symbol of purity and tranquility, and so is the first step of our life. As a newborn, this blue is a color of a newborn, as it is a color of purity and tranquility. So the imagery of the blue wing of the halcyon bird suggests that the garment for that newborn robe which the weavers are weaving at the break of the day is full of life and joy. And the weavers are now in a way celebrating the arrival of a new life with a color that symbolizes tranquility, that symbolizes serenity and purity. So the choice of color and the comparison to the halcyon bird highlight the beauty and hope associated with a newborn child. There is a much hope with a newborn child. It is said that a father is inherent in a child. So there is a much probability, much possibility within a child. So this color blue and the bird halcyon highlight the beauty and hope associated with a newborn. So as we have seen that in the first stanza, the poet Sarojini Naidu describes weavers weaving cloth in the early morning, and she asks the weavers why are they weaving a cloth of a particular color, and what is that color? That is blue. Why they are weaving blue color clothes at that time, in the early morning. And in reply, the weavers say that the cloth that they are weaving right now is the color of a halcyon's wing, and it is a beautiful blue because it will be used for making the clothes of a newly born child. So that's about the first stanza of the poem. Now moving on to the second stanza. Weavers weaving at fall of night, why do you weave a garment so bright? Like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, we weave the marriage veils of a queen. So this is the second stanza. In the first stanza we have seen that they are weaving the cloth at the break of the day, at the in the very early morning. Now in the second stanza we have seen that the weavers are weaving at fall of night. Now the poet is in this second stanza, the poet questions the weavers again, that this time as they work at night. She asks why they are creating such a bright and vivid garment. Weavers weaving at fall of night, why do you weave a garment so bright? So at that time, why you are weaving a garment which is very bright at night? Now the weavers reply, like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, we weave the marriage veils of a queen. So what are they now weaving? They reply that they are weaving marriage veil for a queen. And this color, using of this color as splendid and rich as the feathers of a peacock. The feathers of peacock are very bright and very splendid, very colorful. Now, so is the marriage veil of that particular queen. And peacock feather are known for their brilliant purple and green hues, green color, and the weavers are using that particular purple and green color to weave the marriage veil of the queen. The use of these vibrant colors symbolizes the grandeur and festivity associated with a royal wedding. Just as the peacock's plumage is striking and majestic, the marriage veils for the queen are intended to be dazzling and magnificent, befitting her royal status and the joyous occasion of her marriage. If you have minutely noticed, there are many of literary pieces where the color purple is associated with the royal reign, royal color. This is the color of royal status. So the use of the color purple to weave the marriage veils is obviously associated with a royal family, and queen is a member of a royal family. So that's it. Now this imagery conveys a sense of luxury, celebration and the beauty of a significant life event. So marriage is a significant life event, and this is an event of celebration, this is an event of beauty and luxury. So the color purple is used here, purple with the combination of green. So, in this second stanza, Sarojini Naidu, the poet or the speaker, asks the weavers why they are weaving a cloth late in the evening, and she asks why it is so bright and colorful. And the weavers tell the speaker, tell the observer that the cloth is brightly and richly colored like the feathers of a peacock because they are weaving it for a queen. The queen will use this cloth to make her marriage fail, and she belongs to a royal family, so the color purple and green is used here. So, this is about the second stanza of this poem. Now, we will come to the third stanza. Weavers weaving solemn and still, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? White as a feather and white as a cloud, we weave a dead man's funeral shroud. So, now in the third stanza, we can see that the weavers are weaving in the moonlight. So, the poet is now asking, the speaker is now asking the weavers, addressing them as weavers, weaving solemn and still, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? And in response to that question, the weavers are saying that white as a feather and white as a cloud, we weave a dead man's funeral shroud. If you can see that white is a color which is associated with death. We will discuss that later on, but first discuss the first two lines of this particular stanza. Weavers weaving the solemn and still, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? So, in this final stanza, the poet observes that the weavers are working very quietly and very seriously, and what was the time now? This is night. So, the speaker asks what they are weaving in the cold moonlight, moonlight chill, chill means cold. Now, they are replying that, the weavers are replying that white as a feather and white as a cloud, we weave a dead man's funeral shroud. So, the weavers respond that they are creating a funeral shroud for a dead man, and they are using a pure white color that is as delicate as a feather and as soft as a cloud. So, the use of white is a color which is often associated with purity and peace, and this is very much significant here. Now, it symbolizes the end of life as well, and the transition of life to a serene, peaceful state. And when we can achieve that serene and peaceful state? Only after the death, not before that. Whatever we can aim, whatever we can try to dream, whatever it is, we always, life is a struggle itself. So, if we are in our student life, then we can think we have the struggle to achieve something, to be established by our own. In the midlife, we may have to have other struggles, and later on as we grew aged, then the struggle is something different. Maybe it is with our health issues, but when we can have that serene, peaceful state, when we can have that ultimate peace in our life, only after the death. And that is why death is always associated with purity and peace. That is the moksha. We achieve the moksha, we achieve the freedom from that life struggle only after our death. So, all these things are associated with death, that is the purity and peace and serene and peaceful state, and everything is associated with the color white. White is always associated with purity, peace, serene and death as well. So, the imagery of weaving a white cloth in the moonlight chill and the solemn still manner of the weavers evoke a sense of calm and reverence fitting to the creation of a shroud. What is shroud? Shroud is the white cloth we use to cover a dead body. That is called a shroud. It is a white in color already. So, creation of a shroud that is meant to honor and respect the deceased. Why we use the white color in shroud? To respect the deceased, to respect the dead. So, this stanza reflects the final stage of the life and contrasting the vibrant colors and joyous occasions depicted in the earlier stanzas. In the first stanzas, if you can remember, in the first stanza, the weavers are weaving the clothes of blue color. Then in the second stanza, they are weaving the clothes of green and purple color. Now in the last stanza, they are weaving the color which is white. So this sets of colors, the two sets, the blue, in one hand there is blue, purple and green, and in the other hand we have the white color. So these two sets of color are very much different, whereas the first set of color were very much vibrant, that reflects very joy and enchanting nature. The white color reflects the serenity of life, reflects the peacefulness, reflects the calmness of life. So these two are very much different. So you must have noticed that people wearing white clothes to visit a friend who has lost loved ones. And why do we not wear bright clothes on such occasions? So in the above stanza, the poet asks the weavers what they are weaving late in the night, and the weavers reply that they are weaving a thin white cloth to cover a dead body. As we wear white clothes while we visit a funeral ceremony, that is not the same cloth which we wear in the marriage time, while visiting a marriage ceremony or while visiting to meet a newborn baby. Both are very different occasions. One is very much joyous occasion, one is very much tranquil, very much calmness is there in the very ambience of the place. So these two are very much different. So that's about the three stanzas. We will discuss the theme of this poem one by one. But before that, let's have some summarize of the whole poem. So the poem Indian Weavers describes the three different stages of human life: their birth, marriage and death, right? So in the first stanza, the weavers were busy in weaving a garment at daybreak in the morning, and the garment was blue in color and looked very beautiful and bright as they are weaving the garment for a newborn baby. And the bright indicates the first phase of life. In the second stanza, this stanza describes the weaver's activity during the night time, at the late evening. At that time, they were weaving so beautiful a garment in purple and green, and like the shades in the feathers of a peacock. It is the veil of a queen actually, and this is another phase of human life where an individual is entering into wedlock with the hope for a bright and happy future. Now comes the third stanza. In this particular stanza, the poet notices the gloom ambience when the weavers were weaving the cloth silently and seriously. It was the time of cold moonlight, and the color of the cloth was as white as a cloud and a feather, and the weavers were weaving a cloth to cover the body of a dead man. Now, in this way, Sarojini Naidu has described a symbolic picture of a human being's journey from birth to death. The first stanza is of a newborn baby, then in the second stanza there is of marriage ceremony, and in the third stanza there is the death. So the weaving activity of the weavers reminds the poet about the transitoriness of life. So what is the central message of this poem? Every life is finite, but life itself goes on in perpetuity. So we can notice that the poem is largely hopeful in its tone, despite dealing with issues around human morality. Rather than lingering on loss, the poem presents death as just another stage in the wonder that is human existence, and chooses to focus on the cyclical nature of beauty instead. So, here the poet is not lamenting over a death, but she is now presenting death as a part of human life, and that is human existence, and chooses to focus on the cyclical nature of life, and which for her this is very beautiful part of life, because only after that we can achieve the ultimate peace of our life, right? So, this is the central message of this particular poem by Sarojini Naidu, that is, every life, man is mortal, that is the common says. So, every life has some end, but life itself goes on in perpetuity. Life itself has so many different stages. So, now we will move on to the appreciation section of this poem, that is Indian weavers. So, in this poem, Sarojini Naidu has employed various literary devices like simile and imagery, like that. So, we will discuss all these rhetoric, all these literary devices one by one. First, there is a simile. Simile is used here to show a comparison between two different things, because of on the ground of some similarity between them, and this comparison is indicated by the words like as or like. For example, there is a line that is called blue as the wing of halcyon wild. What does that mean? That is, the wing of the color of the wing of a halcyon wild halcyon bird is blue, and the color of that particular garment, the blue color of that particular garment is similar with that wing, with the color of the wing of that particular bird. So, the comparison is putting forth with this particular word, that is as. With that, this is the ground of comparison, the color of the vibrancy of the color blue. Now, the second line, that is like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green. So, the plume of peacock and purple and green is the same with the color of a marriage veil. And the third is white as a cloud. So, the color of the shroud is as white as a cloud. So, the colors are the basis of the comparison here. So, to show a comparison between the two different things, sometimes it is the robe of a newborn baby, sometimes it is the marriage veil, sometimes it is the white shroud, and sometimes it is compared with an wing of a halcyon bird, wild halcyon bird, and sometimes it is compared with peacock, and sometimes it is compared with cloud. So, two different things are compared here. There are some other appreciation in this poem, but we will discuss all these appreciation, all these rhetorics in this class, but after a short break.
प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने।
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो,
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने हम, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर।
शिक्षा और परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर। दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बहुत,
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम, स्वयं बने हम,
Welcome back, learners. We were discussing the appreciation part of the poem Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu. We have already discussed the simile part, and that how simile is used in this particular poem by Sarojini Naidu to compare between two ultimately different things, and on the ground of some similarity of color. Sometimes it is color blue, sometimes it is color white, sometimes it is purple and green color. So, this is the basis of the simile. Now, we will move on to other literary devices that are used in this poem, such as the imagery. Imagery here is able to create clear pictures in reader's mind. For example, there are the lines that is blue as the wing of halcyon wild we weave the robes. So, we can imagine that the weavers are weaving the robes of the color with the color blue, and the color blue is a similar color of the wing of an wild halcyon bird. So, we can imagine in our mind eyes that the weavers are weaving with the blue color. Another example of that will be in the moonlight chill. We can visualize the ambience that the weavers are weaving the cloth, weaving the shroud, white shroud at the moonlight time, and moonlight is always symbolized with the color silver or the color white, which is a variant of color white, of course. So, this is the moonlight chill. The cold moonlight night can be visualized by the readers while reading the poem. So, these are the imagery to create the clear mind pictures in the reader. So these are some imagery examples of this poem. Now we will move on to the other literary devices, that is alliteration. We have already discussed alliteration many a time. So what is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound. So if a particular consonant sound is repeated repeated with a very less frequency, then we can say that this particular literary device is alliteration. And alliteration brings about a musical effect, and as we have already discussed that this particular poem is written as a song, so we can connect that the musical effect with presented with that alliteration in this particular poem that transcends this particular poem into a song. For example, weavers weaving. So weavers, this W-E-A-V, this sound, we, this sound is repeated in this poem, in the whole poem, as we can say. So weavers weaving, these are alliteration. So next line, solemn and steel. So there is the repetition of the S sound and also the L sound. So solemn and steel. So this type of repetition of consonant sounds, these are the examples of alliteration. So in this particular poem, the poet has used the three literary devices. One is simile, the second is imagery, and the third one is alliteration. And both these literary devices has some role in this particular poem. Some helps us to visualize the which has been described in this poetry. Some literary devices make some musical quality, input some musical qualities to this poetry. Now we will move on to the rhyme scheme of this poetry, and the rhyme scheme of this poetry is AABB, and this rhyme scheme gives it a musical quality and aids in the flow and rhythm of the poem. So if we read the text and particularly focus on the last words of the lines, you can recognize the rhyme scheme of the poem. Let's read it aloud with me. Weavers weaving at break of day, why do you weave a garment so gay? I have highlighted these words into green. You can identify them easily. Blue as the wing of halcyon wild, we weave the robes of a newborn child. So day is similar with gay. Now wild is similar with the child. So in the previous slide we have seen that the rhyme scheme is AABB, right? So in this stanza you can say that day, gay, day, A, these are similar. So AA, wild, child, they are similar but different from day and gay. So these are BB. So AA, BB, these are the rhyme scheme of the first stanza. Now we will we will judge that it is justified with the other two stanzas or not. So let's have a look. In the second stanza we have weavers weaving at fall of night. Why do you weave a garment so bright? Like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, we weave the marriage veils of a queen. So night and bride, these are similar. Green and queen, these are similar. So again AABB. Now moving on to the third stanza. Weavers weaving solemn and steel, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? White as a feather and white as a cloud, we weave a dead man's funeral shroud. So steel, chill, they are similar. Cloud and shroud, they are similar. So again AABB. So we can say that yes, the rhyme scheme of this particular poem is AABB for sure, right? Now moving on to the after the rhyme scheme, we can have the word building, how the word building is lesson is given in this particular lesson. So we have words like weaver here, right? Now how does that weaver word come? The root word of this weaver is weave, which is a verb, and we add er with this weave verb and makes the word weaver, right. So, weave is a verb. Focus on the second example of the slide. So, weave, which is a verb, with that we use the suffix er and form the word weaver. Similarly, teach is a verb. We use er with that, we add er with that and make the word teacher. Similarly, direct plus or, director. Photograph, which is a noun, with that we add er and it becomes photographer, right. So, this is a process by using suffix like er, or and ly. There are so many suffix with which we can build words, build different words. Teach and teachers are different, weave and weaver are different. So, in this way we build new words by using suffixes, right. Now, as these are all about the poem Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu. Now, have a look of the whole poem to summarize the whole poem. So, in the first stanza we have seen that the poet asks the weavers why they are creating, why they are making such a bright and colorful garments at the beginning of a day, and the weavers respond accordingly, and they say that they are making robes for a newborn child, and they are using shade of blue, and that blue color is comparable with the vibrant and beautiful color of an wild halcyon bird's wings color, right. Now, this halcyon have a striking blue colored wings, and this halcyon bird is a tropical kingfisher of to Asia and Africa and continent, and this halcyon bird is also a mythical creature, and it has the power to calm the sea and wind during a storm. And the imagery of the wing of halcyon bird, the color of that wing suggests that the garment is full of life and joy, and it celebrates the arrival of a new life with a color that symbolizes purity and tranquility. And the choice of color and the comparison to the halcyon bird highlight the beauty and hope associated with a newborn child. And so, in this stanza, Sarojini Naidu describes weavers weaving cloth in the early morning, and she asks the weavers why are they weaving a cloth of a particular color, that is blue, and they say that the cloth that they are weaving, the robes they are weaving, is the color of a halcyon's wing, and it is a beautiful blue color because it will be used for making the clothes of a newborn child. Now, in the second stanza, we have seen that the poet again questioning the weavers at that what they are weaving at the night. They ask why they are creating such a bright and vivid garment at that particular time, and the weavers reply that they are weaving marriage veils for a queen, and they are using at that time the color as a splendid and rich as the feathers of a peacock, and this color are known for the brilliant purple and green hues. And the use of this vibrant color symbolizes the grandeur and festivity associated with a royal wedding. Just as the peacock's plumage is striking and majestic, the marriage veils for the queen are intended to be dazzling and magnificent, and it befits the queen's royal status and the joyous occasion of her marriage. So, the imagery conveys a sense of luxury, celebration, and the beauty of a significant life event, that is marriage. So, in this stanza, the poet asks the weavers why they are weaving a cloth late in the evening, and Sarojini Naidu asks why it is so bright and colorful, and the weavers replied her that the cloth is bright and rich like the feathers of a peacock because they are weaving it for a queen, and the queen will use this cloth to make her marriage veil. So, in the third stanza, we can see the final stanza that the poet observes the weavers working quietly and seriously at night, and the poet here asks what they are weaving in the cold moonlight. Now the weavers respond that they are creating a funeral shroud for a dead man, and they are using this time a pure white color that is as delicate as a feather and as soft as a cloud. The use of white is a color which is often associated with purity and peace, and this using of this color is very much significant here, because white is a color that symbolizes the end of life and the transition to a serene peaceful state. And the imagery of weaving in the moonlight chill and the solemn still manner of the weavers evoke a sense of calm and reverence, a tranquility that is very much befitting for the creation of a shroud that is meant to honor and respect the dead man or women. So this final stanza reflects the final stage of life, contrasting the vibrant colors and joyous occasion depicted in the earlier stanzas. So as a whole, in this particular stanza, the weavers are weaving white clothes for a dead body. So as a whole, in this poem, Indian weavers, this poem describes 3 different stages of human life. They are birth, marriage and death. In the first stanza, the weavers were busy in weaving a garment at daybreak for a newborn baby. In the second stanza, they are being described as they are weaving a marriage veil for a royal queen, and the color of the veil is purple, would be purple and green. And in the last stanza, they are weaving a shroud, a white shroud, very silently and seriously, and it is a time of cold moonlight, and the color of a cloth was as white as a cloud and a feather, and the weavers were weaving a cloth to cover the body of a dead man. So thus Sarojini Naidu has described a symbolic picture of human beings' journey from birth to death, and the weaving activity of the weavers reminds the poet as well as the readers about the transitoriness of life. So we can notice that the poem is largely hopeful in its tone, despite dealing with issues around human mortality rather than lingering on loss. The poem also presents death as just another stage in the wonder that is human existence, and she also chooses to focus on the cyclical nature of beauty instead of mere lamenting. So that is as a whole of the poem, the theme of the poem. Now at a glance we can see that this poem has described the different stages of life that bring joys and sorrows. And this poem also shares of ways of sharing happiness and excitement through the hues while doing our daily works. Now this poem also deals with negative feelings and emotions, and we can also learn that one should cherish life for it is ultimately brief. So that's all about the poem Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu, which was included in our secondary English course as lesson number 12. So we will again meet with another lesson. Till then, thank you.